All right, so what I'm going to do is walk you through basically developing the creative brief for a client's social media page. There's a couple of steps that are involved. Most of them don't necessarily have to be done in a particular order, but this is the order that I go, and so it kind of flows and you make it your own. So this is the content calendar or the creative brief that goes with it. I ensure the dates are correct. So for this particular one that I'm working on, they always start on Sunday and then on Saturday, and typically it's always a 2 week span. So it's internal because now we're working on it internally. We're going to put on here the weeks that it's covering, the date that it's starting, the year comes first, TSU because in this TSU shape because that's the client for this creative brief, and I make sure these dates here are also matching. So let's get down to it. I ensure that I like to start with stars next to all of them. So I make sure that the dates on everything is up to date. Normally we're scheduling a Monday through Friday. Every now and then it may be a Sunday or a Saturday involved, but I initially set everything up with Monday through Friday in mind. And I'll show you when we would change it to a Sunday and a Saturday. Just as a rule of thumb, it's, you know, if we just switch it up every blue moon and do a Saturday or a Sunday, it's no big deal. But there's typically some that you have to do Saturdays and Sundays. But anyway, so we put the date on there. I make sure there's an asterisk in front to let me know on the left hand side that I haven't done it yet. And so you can literally go down and I check and make sure there's no picture in here. So I know that I need to gather the image. I make sure that there are the dates are here, and you can see on the left hand side I've already went through and changed the dates of all of them. And then for post one right above it, it has what week it's covering. So this is for week 3 of June. Now that I went through and done that part, I next go over to my content calendar over in Airtable. So Airtable is letting me know if the client has told me about any special dates that are coming up or if there's a special focus. It'll also have on here if there's any special holidays that are pertinent to this client. For example, HIV on June 5th is HIV Long Term Survivors Awareness Day. So for TSI Shape, this works for them. We're going to celebrate it. But if it was National Pet Your Dog Day, we may not use that for them because they don't really do a lot with pets as they focus on college students, and college students typically don't have pets. So that wouldn't be something that we would put on their content calendar or their Airtable. Now, we're going to copy this one on June 5th. And as you can see, it falls on a Sunday. So we have to celebrate on a Sunday. We're going to come back over here. And so with that being said, we're going to change the first one because it falls into this week to Monday, change it to a Sunday, and we'll paste it right behind it. So when I go to grab images and write copy or the caption, I make sure that I'm pertaining it to that. So I can see on the left hand side there has a focus for this particular one. All right, let's see what else is on here. So these are some that we filled in. Juneteenth is a historically black school, so we are definitely going to put that on the calendar for June 18th. So because this is college focused, we like to do Fridays. So what I'm going to change this one to Saturday, but we're going to back up and put this one on the 17th and make it Friday. And we'll back up one more time and make this one Thursday. The reason I backed up 2 of them, not just one, is because Friday is typically something fun. Saturday, in this instance, is going to be Juneteenth. Since Friday is fun, it has the potential to gather a lot of eyeballs on it. So since we are increasing the likelihood of eyeballs and attention being on our page on the 17th, the post that's immediately in front of it is going to get some kind of viewership as well, potentially, right? So we want to make sure that those are close together so that it'll kind of help, you would say, drag it, or it'll help gather some additional attention for the one on that Thursday. And skipping a Wednesday is the middle of the week, no big deal. Okay, cool. What else do we have? All right, so those are all the ones on here. Next, what I'm going to do, and I've already done this for the month of June. That's why you see Father's Day and sickle cell awareness. And that's why these are already on here, because I've already looked through it for the month. If they were not on here, what I would do is open up a new tab, and I literally would do a search for There's two different calendars that have most of these on here. So I would do a search for National Calendar June 2022. It's going to give me a list of all the national days and maybe some international ones. So nationalcalendarday.com. And as I skim the list, I'll find out which ones are pertinent to this particular client, and then we'll get them added to the calendar. But like I said, I've already done this one, so we're not going to do it again. If there's national weeks, because sometimes there's National Shark Week. I don't know if you've ever heard of Shark Week. So with that, we'll just say, okay, it's National Shark Week this week. We'll pick a day throughout that week that we're going to talk specifically about National Shark Week. But then during the rest of the week, we might put something on there that refers to it, but it's saying how National Shark Week talks to mental health or something like that, because mental health is pertinent to TSU Shape. So another place that I go to look at the calendar is nationaltoday.com. So these are two different entities, nationaldaycalendar.com and then nationaltoday.com. And sometimes they have a lot of the same ones. Sometimes they're completely different. But like I said, I've already done June, so I'm not going to go look at it again. Now that we have that part mapped out, we can see what has already been pre-scheduled, what I've already put on here. This is more or less a template. It's like a guide. It's not a guarantee we must do these things in these orders, in this order, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt, right? So you can do them in this order, or you can kind of switch them up a little bit. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This week has 6. So we could either give them 6 the second week as a bonus, because we try to give them a bonus every blue moon, or we could just skip it and just give them 5. So we'll take one of these off. On the calendar just a moment ago, on the creative brief, we didn't have a Wednesday on here, but we're missing this Wednesday. So maybe that'll be the one that we'll move. Next, the question is, where do these items come from? How do we know community event, inspiration, prep, fun? Like where did these come from? We try to keep these in a rotation. Each client has their own bucket, if you will, or things that they want to focus on. And so we try to have a rotation of different things that are important to them. Let's go back 1 month. So we definitely want to, so for this client, and you can see the rotation. We try to put it on here, but it doesn't always make it, right? Let me go back one more. So if it's not filled in, you know how to fill it in. And the way you would go about doing that is, so they have know your status, the K, and see it's down here as well. We have a meme. So there's another meme right there. That's a national day, so that doesn't count. Inspiration. So 9 times out of 10, when we flip the month, inspiration is going to be up top. Addiction, that's one of their common themes. HIV myth, National Walking Day, that's general. Volunteer, shape up. So these are all common things, and part of how you know that they're common is because when you look on previous months, you'll be able to see them showing up over and over. There's their community event, STI myth. We've kind of veered away from that for this client, but nevertheless, they're here. Volunteer peer, relationships. There's our trusty meme again. So in return, try to keep the rotation together. Now that we do have that rotation built out, why not just go ahead and use it? And how we go about that is Monday the 6th is community event, and there's no, the rotation doesn't have to be a certain kind of way. And what that means is if something happens and instead of Monday being, instead of Monday being community day, and we decide that we're going to put it on Friday, it's not a big to do. It's okay. The intention is that they're there for a particular reason. So community event here is spaced out from the last time we mentioned community event. It's also in this location. So then that way, the community event is probably that Wednesday or that Friday. So it gives them a little bit of time to talk about the community event, as opposed to it being same day or it being so far in the future that people forget about it by the time it rolls around. So that's just the day that it's on. Inspiration, typically people like inspiration towards the beginning of the week, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday situation. And so that's why it's there. If the inspiration happens to fall on a Thursday or a Friday, the world's not going to come to an end. It's no big deal. But this gives you like a bit of a framework of what order to put this stuff in. We're going to skip Wednesday because that's skipped there. We're going to talk about prep on that. So you literally go and collect each of these and plug them on. Now, another reason why we have the rotation set up is so that we don't get too many of the same type of posts that are back to back, and that they're kind of spaced out so people don't see the same thing over and over. On this particular 2-week span, we have a community event here and a community event here, and that's because one, these are different types of community events that this particular client does, and then in addition to that, they have a lot of community events that are happening this summer, and we want to be able to talk about it. And so it may not be, both of these may not be an actual flyer for the community event. One may be a flyer and one may be something funny or something educational, and then at the end of it, it says, hey, stop by our community event. So it may not be an on the nose type of situation. So it just kind of keeps things spread out, and it helps us to ensure that we're hitting all the dots and the different things that the client wants to focus on. So we've copied this 2-week span over to our creative brief. The cool thing with this particular client is we have batched some content or some images, and so that's normally where I like to start, is figuring out what do we have in our goodie bag and plug those in first. So the next part is actually putting the images and things on the creative brief itself. I like to start with the images because the images will give me inspiration to what the captions or the copy of the text need to say. So that's how I like to do things. With this particular client, we've built up a library of posts that are already designed and ready to go. We just need to go in there, pull them, and go in there, pull them, and put them where they need to be. And this is something that we want to actually establish for all of our clients. Have a pool of, or a library of designs that are already ready. It just makes things a lot faster. And with that, there's still some stuff that we're going to still have to design, or we're going to have to go and pull for a retweet or whatever the case may be. But that is the goal, right? So we have one for community. I think she sent me an email with a post for that one, so I have to go through the email for it. Inspiration. I definitely know I have some inspiration. So we're going to go over to the folder and we'll scroll through till we find something. So this is one way of getting the things that need to be on there. All right, let's get this one here. Once you have your design, which we're going to look at design work in a little bit, but like for this one, we're not going to design it. We're going to use what's already here that has not yet been used. I'm going to take a screenshot of it, and I'm going to paste it over here. Another way to get this design over here, if you have a PC, you have to like screenshot the entire page and then cut out the part of it that you're wanting to screenshot to plug it over. So that's one way of going about it. Another way is on the PC, on the Mac, you do Shift Control Command 4, and it'll let you have a square or a rectangle. You cover the area that you want to go and go from there. Another way to go about doing this, and I'm showing you multiple ways depending on whatever you're most familiar with, it does not matter. Do what you need to do. Go to the place in the document that you want the image to be. Go to Insert and go to Images, and then you can upload it from the computer or upload it by a link. And it'll automatically, or any of those really, it'll put it there for us. Last but not least, we want to make sure we grab the link of where we could find this image. Because it's in a Google Drive, it'll make it easier or faster when it comes time to schedule. If you're doing all designs, or let's say there's not a library of work, then you'll put them all on one Canva document. And by putting them all on that one Canva document, you don't need to do this extra step of linking it. We'll link it there, hit apply, and I just highlighted the image and hit the link button on the top there. Yeah. And then I pasted in the link that needs to be there. So what I'm going to do now is remove the asterisk, because I don't need to design or grab an image for this particular day. So what I like to do is go through and put in as many images as possible. And if something really hits me, then I'll go ahead and type the caption while I'm going. If not, that's fine. I'll just fill out all the pictures first and then come back and do all the captions next. Let's see here. We had something for prep. Let's see if we have anything over here. We can use this for prep. Use this one. So even though this is not directly about prep, it still kind of refers to it. Just because someone is undetectable doesn't mean they can't pass it. So you need to prepare and prep. I'm gonna put that here. Size it down just a bit so it can take up the full page. As of right now, I don't like the formatting of it, like how the title is on one page and then the actual image and the caption are on another page. But I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll come back and take care of that on the back end. Now, if you're having to design your post just for the sake of you seeing that, I like to go into Canva. And while we're waiting on Canva, let's also pull up the social media accounts, because many times we can pull something from the account that has done well, and it also helps because 9 times out of 10 the client likes what we've been doing in the past. So instead of trying to create something from scratch, or trying to create something from scratch, or if you need some inspiration or whatnot, I would always recommend going to their page and kind of scrolling through to see what's on here. Pages like this, it's not female based or men based. So in return, we want to make sure we are covering both aspects of it. Also, pages like this aren't necessarily black or Latin or white. But because this is an HBC, we want to have more minorities on the page than without melanin in their skin, right? And so in return, it's not that we can't put white people on, it's just that we want to limit it. But at the same time, we don't want to have all black women, because at this school, it's not a black women's school. So we want to make sure we're representing a little bit across the board, just like we want to make sure that because they're talking about an array of things, STIs and mental health, we want to make sure that we are also showing straight and binary and non-binary and all the couples that are possible, because the school has all couples and they're targeting all couples. Alright, so this kind of gives us a feel of some of the things that they've posted in the past. So that's helpful. Another thing we can do is and Canva's up, so we'll pop over there in a minute, but we do need to do a Juneteenth post. So we're going to type in Juneteenth, and instead of creating something for Juneteenth, we may use something that's already been designed, or we may use something that gives us inspiration for something else. So none of these are really helpful yet. We could use this ice cream, and it could say something like, have you ever had this kind of ice cream before? Or how are you going to celebrate Juneteenth? Now, because the particular school is, because it's a college, what we don't want to do is advertise for Walmart. So this won't be something that we could use, but something like this is definitely possible. 5 African concepts. This is potentially a cool post. So let's see, is it somehow tied to, so we can kind of tie it to Black history. It doesn't necessarily connect directly to Texas, but we could use this post. And if we're going to use this post, we're going to literally take it and we're going to do the screenshot like we do. We are going to give reference to where the page came from, and then we're going to talk about it. So something like this may result in saying something like, we always knew we were gods, happy Juneteenth. Or we always knew we had power inside of us, and we always knew that the king and queen is hidden inside of us. Double tap so she could stand up, or so that, the king or queen inside of you could stand up. And so what we're doing is we're educating them, because that's what HBCUs or colleges do in general. And then we're acknowledging and we're encouraging the power and the person that's inside of you, while we're educating about their history. So that is possible. Let's see here. This one would be kind of neat if we were in New York. Shirts are nice. The problem is they're selling and we're not selling. So we could do this one. Buy your Juneteenth merch from Black folks. Let it sit on the shelf at the major retail stores. It's not advertising a particular brand or a particular thing. So we could say, what's a Black-owned product that you're using today or that you purchased today? All right, so we may need to move forwards. Oh, that's nice. The lady with Africa behind her. So anyway, that's another way to gather the images that you need. We don't do too much of this because we want to ensure that we're creating some original content, and we don't want a page that's full of reposts from someone else. Let's check one more thing. This one has fewer posts, so it may yield a better result. So all this is selling, it's not history. And we've already talked about that. So moving on. A third way to create and get your post on here would be to go inside of Canva. What I'm gonna do is pull up, each client has their own folder of posts. Where's Tisha? There we go. So we'll open up their folder for Instagram posts, and with this, we'll go to the bottom and we're gonna create the post in here. And so it's rare that I try to create something from scratch. There's not really a need to do that. Apparently the computer's thinking, so just a few moments. We'll get this going. All right, so we're on TSU. We're actually designing for June. May is the only one on here, so we're gonna do the addition there. So it's May and June. We're gonna add a page, and let's say we're still looking for something for the Juneteenth post. On the left-hand side, you literally have all these under templates, and they work beautifully. Sometimes you just have to switch it up a little bit. So I definitely scroll through some of these. Watermelon was a big thing for Juneteenth, and it's people celebrated watermelon because it was something that the slaves could, or I guess we shouldn't say slaves, but people who were enslaved previously, freed enslaved people were able to sell, and they made a lot of money from it, and so it ended up becoming like looked down upon, whereas everyone loved the watermelon at the very beginning. So maybe this is something we can use. The image, and instead of saying summer special sale, we'll say happy Juneteenth. We're gonna pull these handlebars out so it can kind of take up the page. It's already centered because I pulled the handlebars to the end of the page on both sides. It's covering up those words below. So let's move that up, and then we can say watermelon, a freedom. And so the reason why I know that this is a fruit of freedom is because of the previous learning that I've done about Juneteenth. So if I didn't know this about Juneteenth, then what I would have done is literally done a Google search, or even read articles or looked on other people's pages to get some education so I could write about Juneteenth. And last but not least, I'm going to put their logo. Oh, let's see if we can get their logo on here. Well, on the left hand side, click on styles first, and their colors are not red. So yeah, the red kind of goes with the watermelon, but that's not their color. So we're going to click on their color. Oh, that's nice. And that's definitely their colors. And it looks a little, I like that one. So maybe we'll stick with it. We're just going to keep until we find something that we just absolutely want to keep. Alrighty. So let's use this one. Now this image all goes together, so I can't take off the flamingos or anything like that, unfortunately, but I think that's absolutely fine. We can now get their logo. On the left hand side, there should be a folder. There we are. Folder for logos. And we'll scroll down. Oh, I don't know why, but their logo isn't in here. Anywho, I'll get that added on later. But you'll click on their logo. Let's say this is it. Let's resize it and find a place to put it. If you don't use their logo, which is absolutely fine, then we'll just use their tag on it. And since I don't have their logo, that this is another company's logo, I'm going to delete this one off. But I want to make sure there's no, when you do use it, if you're logged in under the Canva account that I shared with you, it's a pro account, so you'll be able to remove the background from the logo. So now instead of it having that white box on it, it goes with the picture, so that looks a lot better. I'm going to delete that one, and instead I'm just going to use the text. Let's double it, drag it up to the top, TSU shape, reduce the size. And so the point of this being on here, so that if someone decides to share this, people will know where it came from. This can literally be anywhere. I'm going to rotate it, put it here, and I'm going to turn it black. And most times these are black and it's parallel on the page, but for this particular one, I don't want it to mess with the design. So I love the way it looks, and the way I have that on there, it kind of blends in, so you see it, but not so much. So we're gonna take this screenshot and go to the Juneteenth post, remove that asterisk because now we have a post for it, and post it on there. So let's say I've completed all the images on here, nobody has any asterisks. So then I will literally go to the top and work my way down and give all of these the appropriate captions. The captions that are on here now are literally one from the old version of this creative brief. I copied this creative brief from another, and so this is what was here previously. Delete that out, and then we'll say, did you know that watermelon was a famous fruit that, oh no, I didn't want that. Did you know, say, betcha, didn't know that was a famous fruit that everyone desired. Many people rich, and was the perfect fruit for freed enslaved people to master. What's the last time you had a watermelon? So we kind of always want to end with a call to action. We're asking them to do something. So whether we're asking them a question, or we're telling them to double tap, or we're telling them to click the link in the bio, or we're telling them to send us a DM, we want to always give them something to do. Tag a friend if you agree, share this post. Those are all call to actions. And so that is it for the caption. And then last but not least, this first row of hashtags is always changed. And so you don't have to necessarily do a full row. It could just be one. So we're going to say Happy Juneteenth, and then we're going to say Juneteenth 22. So I changed that because it popped up and it made a suggestion to change it for grammar purposes. And that's it. So I would literally go through each post and update the caption based off of what's in the image. Had I wrote out the caption first, then it would have been a little harder. Sometimes it makes it feel harder to have to go through and find an image that matches the caption. So the image is typically the harder thing to do. So I always recommend doing it first because the words can be changed a little bit here and there. But that is it. So let me know if you have any questions, and have fun creating your next creative brief.